Well, jeepers! You're listening to Smash or Pass.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode on the JayBee Milly channel. I am JayBee and I'm joined by Milly.
Hi!
And of course Rhianna.
Hello!
So today we are going to be discussing Scooby Doo Where Are You in Mind Your Own Business. So if you're listening to this for the first time, we have done episodes 1, 2 and 3 before, so please feel free to refer back to those reviews. We've also done all of the movies, so please look at the channel. But without further ado, mind your own business. So, Rhianna, would you like to kick us off with a bit of a plot summary, please?
Okay, so Shaggy is navigating the gang. And we know from several episodes that came in the future and movies, he cannot read a map, mainly because, especially in this episode, he's holding the map upside down. So the gang end up getting lost and wind up in an old Western ghost town. And they end up, and that ghost town is called the Gold City. And like any ghost town, it's spooky, obviously. So they decide, let's go check into a deserted inn, which classic Scooby gang, they go to a deserted inn, and the owner starts explaining that everyone has been scared off by the miner 49er, an old miner who's a ghost. And they wind up in another mystery involving an abandoned gold mine and a ghostly moaning miner. Will they survive? I believe they do because, we're only 4 episodes in, so,
Yeah,
I feel like that was my worst summary.
No, I'd say that was a really good summary. It certainly sets the scene really well. So as you were saying, they arrive at Gold City, which is like a ghost town. To me, this looked like a complete, Wild Western thing, like you're about to get a shootout on the street.
Yeah, like one of those rootin' cowboy places. The tumbleweed goes, there's a little shot towards someone's trigger hand flicking, and then it's da 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 da, like standard Western stuff, right? But I almost like it because unlike other Western places, this isn't coming back to our meme. This is at night. It's also
at night on the street,
abandoned, which is very creepy. I think one thing that people seem to forget about the series is that it actually is very unsettling when you really think about it, aesthetically, music-wise, more so than a lot of other of the Scooby series, and I like this one especially. This is probably my favourite setting, visually and conceptually, although I am of course weak for a clue for Scooby Doo with it being in the water, but to me, I'm liking this setup more than a few of the other episodes that we've done.
See, I'd agree with you that it's a good setting, perhaps, but I think where I'd begin to disagree with you is saying that it's kind of a bit sinister, because for this episode in particular, they go to stay at the guest ranch, and on the way to the rooms, they hear the story of the miner, and to me, it looks just like a normal man. It doesn't look like a ghost, doesn't look like a villain. In fact, I'm sure there's one scene where Shaggy opens the door and has to look 2 or 3 times before they're like, oh no, that is meant to be the villain, and then react to it.
See, I agree that it does look like a normal man. However, it looks like a creepy normal man. And so under normal circumstances, if I see that guy out and about, I'm treating them with a little bit of caution. I think when C. Ernst Harp took over the role, they were a much more handsome take on the character. However, in animation, I am scared simply because it's not a particularly friendly looking person. But I get your point.
What did you think to the villain in this one, Rhianna?
I really love the Miner 49er. I feel like he is one of the, when you think of Scooby-Doo villains, that's one that stands out. And I don't know if it's because, he is, of course, in Scooby-Doo Monsters Unleashed. And a lot of the ghosts that are in there, people think of more because, they've seen a live adaptation of it. But I feel like it was a pretty, I don't know how to explain it. So how I would, I guess, go about it is that he gives very old man creepy vibes, and I guess using one of JB's favorite words, a little bit of a pervert in some ways. showing up places. But but I think what was like cool, and I don't mean to like skip ahead a little bit, but you know, Fred very easily figured out who it is, and that's because there are only really two suspects, which we'll get into. I think their names were Big Ben and Hank. So figuring it out was quite easy because one of the characters' outfits matched the disguise to Minor 49, and all he needed was a hat and a beard. And also stilts to make him like higher, like look taller. But I really like it. I like the whole setup. And for those who know, like, so JayBee Milly and I watched Supernatural, and there's in the second episode with Wendigo, it's based in like an old abandoned mine, and it like gives me chills because I look at that, and then after being terrified about this Wendigo, I always think, what if Minor 49 is in there? Oh gosh, that would be creepy.
Yeah, see, I'll say this, and people that have watched previous episodes know that I'm not a big fan of the humanoid monsters, and so to me, this is by far my least favourite villain that we've got so far, but, you know, I think that's just bound to happen. With them all being so good, one of them's going to be at the bottom of the list, and I'm pretty sure this is the one that's at the bottom of my list.
What I would say is that I feel like one of the reasons this villain is glorified is because of C. Ernst Hath. Like, they did such a good job of, and you know, the producers on Monsters Unleashed as well, of developing what the monster was going to look like and developing its character, personality, kind of giving it a more sinister look.
I mean, I'm glad they did. I don't know why they chose it either.
But I feel like they completely transitioned this original villain, but it was to its favour that they did. But to that end, going back to it was almost like a, okay, they got that from this. Wow, they did well.
Yeah, it is so different. I mean, some stuff is wacky in that, like the fire breathing, but then there's the kind of catchphrase, and there's the more menacing tone of it. The pickaxe, I don't think this Minor 49 has a pickaxe, do they?
No,
I don't think so. But maybe I'm wrong. I feel like I'm wrong. Maybe someone can tell me in the comments, but I'm just not a big fan of this Minor 49er. I don't know, they're not bad, it's just creepy person, but ultimately a person. And the thing with animation that I absolutely have always loved versus live action, and obviously this is 1960s animation, so you know, maybe technology wise they couldn't do what they can do now, but it's like you're not confined within the medium of realism. So if you want your villain to look like a mixture of a Kinder Egg and Jigglypuff on Spider-Man, then, and I've just had inspiration from what's on my desk at the moment, then you absolutely can have a villain that's a mixture of that. So why they chose to make creepy old man, I don't really know, but again, like, I have no doubt in my mind that they obviously worked really, really hard to get all the villains done on time and whatnot. So yeah, it's just, I don't know, I like the setting, but the villain's a bit bad. And like Rhianna said, like, when Hank comes in, they are literally dressed in exactly the same outfit, and so it's a little bit ridiculous.
So I do think, I'm sorry.
Sorry. I just wanted to quickly, because there's two things that popped into my head. So one, I just realized this episode uses like a different music for the title card, and the music, I believe, is only used again for the new Scooby Doo movies premiere. But also, the same title was used, you know, several years later for an episode of Scrappy and Yabadoo, Mind Your Own Business. So they like used, and also Mind Your Own Business, that's like a pun, and I love it. So that's like a little fun fact.
I like that, and I like that a lot. I didn't notice the music. I'm always one for music. It surprises me that I didn't notice that. What I did notice is, obviously, we've not addressed this on the podcast yet, but the first 2 episodes of Where Are You have, like, unique intros. So, you know, for the purpose Black Knight art, or for the purpose, you know, Captain Cutler art. Whereas now we've just got to what our visuals representing, which is the whole gang running, and that that kind of song. And what I did notice is that the text colour changes every time. So for Mind Your Own Business, we've got a bit of an orange colour, and then we'll have yellow again, then we'll have white. So that's the only change that I noticed, but I like the music. I'll have to rewatch this and kind of decipher everything.
You will indeed. So you were saying that this movie had one of your, not movie, this episode had one of your favourite kind of settings, been like that Wild West vibe and things. And I think they do quite a good interpretation of a saloon as well. You know, where the piano starts playing itself? So that again is a really nice scene, kind of fitting in theme. So then the next scene, I picked up on a bit of a supernatural comparative for Rhianna.
Yes.
You know when Shaggy falls out, did he fall out of a window and a tree catches him or something?
Yeah.
I was drawing the parallel of, like, you know, in Scooby Natural where he falls out of the window or falls from a tree and his arm breaks. It's like, okay, so this is another reference point. This is what they're trying to recreate here, because it really is amazing the things they can do and never get hurt.
I kind of want a Scooby Natural spin-off where it's a bit like Cyber Chase in that maybe they get sucked into the Where Are You series and they have to, like, fight through the different shows in order to get to the real world. So they'll end up in the realm of the new Scooby Doo movies, Be Cool, Mystery Incorporated, and eventually maybe they'll have like 2 episodes per series, part 1 and part 2, and then they end it by saving the world, and they can visit like a live action cast, like maybe they bring them out into the world for a bit. That'd be kind of cool.
I love that, because they did a supernatural anime series in Japan, and I would love a full-on Scooby Natural series. And to quickly touch on Milly's point, after Shaggy falls like out of the tree and breaks his arm in Scooby Natural, Dean then goes off and lists all the villains, and he's like, "Come on, you guys! Like, don't have a breakdown. Scooby Gang doesn't have a breakdown. Like, you faced minor 49ers." So it's like, I feel they merged the two, because I think that's one of the first villains he mentions.
What is weird to me about Minor 49 is their name. Because the only reason why he's called Minor 49 is because I think the mine was, like, closed down in 1949. But it seems kind of weird that from there, this name would come. And I know, like, we're so used to Minor 49er by now. But I don't know, I just kind of feel like the combination of those two facts is cool. And I'm intrigued by it, because I would never have thought to have put them like that, but that's my only point on that. It's cool, but it's weird.
There's actually, sorry, a little bit of history. There was a prospector in the Californian gold rush in 1849, and so it's like a bit of American history. So I think they took the minor 49er that was given to that prospector and then reused it for this.
Is a prospector like that toy from Toy Story 2, the one that farts?
Yeah.
Ah, I get it now.
Okay, so carrying on with the story, they find almost like a map inside. Is it like a figurine that breaks? And it kind of looks like where the professor's hidden in the first episode. What a Night for a Night.
An Indian statue.
And so they find the safe combination. Then you get this scene where Shaggy's trying to crack it, not realising what the L and R meant. Which I think kind of shows Shaggy to have a bit more intelligence than they did when they were reading the map wrong in this initial kind of part of the movie. I keep saying movie, episode. I still haven't got over our first like leg of Smash or Pass.
Yeah, well, I kind of feel like this show is the best in terms of like character capability, but I don't think it is the best for what would eventually come of things. So I think definitely they've made Shaggy, they've dumbed him down quite a bit. Like in the Captain Cutler episode, he figured it out. In this, you see him trying to crack puzzles, whereas it's very much become almost like, not stereotypes, but what do you call archetypes? I don't know. But I think that this is where you see them more all function as detectives, kind of.
See, where I disagree with that slightly is we are about to see the introduction of the phrase danger-prone Daphne.
Where's that?
That is first said in this episode, I think. I guess I'm skipping ahead a little bit. It was Shaggy and Scooby have gone on the minecarts and stuff before that. But I just thought while we were speaking about kind of the intelligence and kind of things like that, that Dangerper and Daphne does make an appearance as a line.
Oh, that's interesting. I thought that was episode 1. But
I think it's when Daphne falls down the mine shaft, because ultimately it leads to some kind of discovery and progress. But as she falls down the minecraft, they are like, "Oh look, there's Dangerper and Daphne again." And it's like,
oh, see, that's kind of mad. But then again, I feel like it is almost unfair on Daphne, right? Not just from like an angle that a lot of people say nowadays, like it was 1969, they were like a bit sexist back then. Maybe there is some truth to that, because we see Shaggy literally lighting up dynamite thinking it's a candle, and the gang just kind of accept it, like, oh, it's dynamite, let's run. Not, oh, there's Shaggy at it again. So I kind of feel like maybe Shaggy just gets a pass from everyone, but the dynamite thing was funny.
I think the thing is when Shaggy and Scooby make mistakes like that, it does tend to lead to a solution. Like, whenever Fred sets a trap, it tends to be Shaggy and Scooby that get trapped in it, but that leads to a second outcome, which tends to be where the villain gets trapped, and ultimately something similar kind of happens here with the miner getting trapped and ultimately being unmasked to be Hank, as we said before.
So they do their plan, which is Fred wants Shaggy to... Is it Shaggy that's making the honking sound and Scooby's like pretending to be a train?
Yeah, so Shaggy starts like doing vocal impressions of the freight train. I can't speak, oh gosh. And yeah, and I think this is like one of the first times we also see Shaggy's like impression skills and throwing his voice out, because you know, in later episodes that we'll cover, like Decoy for a Dog Napper, we see something similar happen where he like throws his voice and Fred is like picks up on it and stuff.
And same with What the Hex, the Hex one, because
psychic thing, isn't it?
Yeah, when they're at the crystal ball and Shaggy throws his voice, so it's like Scooby speaking.
I like that. I actually really do like that. So we then get... Is this before or after, say, where you've got Fred falling into flour? Again, clumsy Fred, no one picks up on it, leading Shaggy and Scooby to think that they're a ghost.
I don't remember. For some reason, I've not put that in my notes. I've kind of, like, skipped through it.
Well, that's okay, because we also see that Velma figures out that all the moaning is on a tape recorder. Which I think is cool, because for all 1969 had limited technology, especially compared to what we know it, people always remember the later series as ones that are modernising it, and I guess that's true for us, but if you look back at, say, even What's New Scooby Doo now, which is what we thought was modernising it, that to us now, like to kids growing up today, is old, because they used like the old flip cell phones, and so obviously in the 1960s maybe like these tape recorders was like considered a technological way for a villain to function.
I mean, I know we're not on this episode yet, but there's something in Decoy for a Dog Napper that I was a bit like, okay, they actually were quite ahead with things, like almost further ahead than the time itself was. They were quite creative with what was out there and available to them.
Which I like. Especially because now they've kind of pushed like believability a little bit. Like, if we've got iPhones, then we can have massive mechanical monsters. Whereas this, more often than not, is recorder, projector. Yeah.
For me, what I found impressive in the, like I said, we'll go into it in the next one, is the tracking thing. You know, when they had the kind of thing on the mystery machine, I think that's amazing. But like I said, that is the next kind of episode.
So, the miner is on stilts, and we have Hank. Now, Hank, I don't understand Hank. I guess he finds some oil and wants it for himself. So, I guess standard Scooby motivation, he just wants a bit more money, right?
Yeah, because he wants to buy the land for cheap and then drill for the oil that's underneath the land and then sell it on, because oil is basically modern day gold.
So it's about as classic of a Scooby motivation as you can get, really.
I mean, it's not about real estate, so it's not quite as classic as you can get.
Well, it's kind of real estate.
Yeah, it is trying to get the land cheap.
I mean, it's not like, well, yeah, direct real
Bringing
estate.
it back again to Scooby Natural.
No, we don't need to worry about that today. But oil is good. I never knew oil was so valuable, because I just thought it was stuff you could get at the shop.
Yeah, you try fueling a car once a week, JayBee.
Wait, isn't that fuel?
Oh dear.
I have one more fun little fact about this episode. So Don Messick, who voices Scooby Doo, also voiced the mouse, but he voiced Hank as well. But the one who voices Minor 49er is Kasem.
Oh. So, yes, there is the mouse. Oh, wow. That's actually crazy. Because you wouldn't expect it. Although, again, like, we've spoken to voice actors that can just do so many cool, interesting things that obviously back then they'd be able to do that. So that's awesome, though. I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome, because if I also remember correctly, I think Frank Welker voiced the Vulture as well in this episode.
I wish I was the Vulture in this episode. So, I guess that kind of wraps up Mind Your Own Business. I mean, definitely a briefer discussion, but I think that this is this is the first of about countless episodes that are going to be something like this, so it makes sense that this one is a bit of a shorter episode. But I guess verdicts, that's probably what's next. I don't know. I'm conflicted with this one, because I think I'm going to pass it, but I think it's purely because the villain is just a guy. The story is it's traditional, but it's just guy wants money, and there's not that many cool set pieces apart from the mine carts. That part is really cool. I don't know. I would have loved it to have been more set in the Western world, or even if it was like what I thought it was originally, like an abandoned studio or an abandoned movie set or something a bit more like that. But in the end, I just got excited to see the Western world, maybe a bit of like cowboy tropes, Western tropes, and then it was all just kind of underground, and there was a guy. I don't know, it just wasn't really my thing, so I think I'm going to need to pass this episode. But that isn't to say that I don't want to watch it again, it's just I wouldn't put this on over a lot of the others. So, Millie, would you smash or pass Mind Your Own Business?
I think I have to agree with JayBee. This one's a definite pass for me. I think the villain was really poor. Like, to just have a person. I think, like I said, there's one particular scene where Shaggy opens the door, and you know how normally when you open the door, the villain stood there, Shaggy screams and then like runs away. He doesn't. He opens the door, kind of looks away, looks back, and it slowly registers like, oh, this guy looks like a miner, the villain's a miner, and then reacts as after this cognitive process as opposed to that initial fear. And for me, if Shaggy and Scooby aren't going to be scared of a villain, it's not a good one. So yeah, for me it's a definite pass. And Rhianna, what about you? Would you say smash or pass for Mind Your Own Business?
Oh gosh. Okay, so I'm going to probably disagree with both of you, which doesn't happen often. It was basically just a basic Scooby Doo episode where the formula was basically carried out to a T. But I actually really enjoyed the fact that it took Shaggy a little bit to like process the fact that the miner was standing there, because in my mind, like I've had this so many times, like a spider or something. I'm like, I see it, and I'm like, no, this, because I've got a dog called Poppy, and she's extremely fluffy, so clumps of her fur are literally everywhere, even though we keep sweeping them up. And I'm like, yeah, no, it's probably a bit of poppy fur. And I look back, and it's like, did that just move? Okay, no, I'm going to scream and run away. And it was like a human reaction that sometimes happens where you're just in that state where it's like, oh yeah, nothing's gonna happen. And it's like, wait, you look familiar. Do I know you? No, you're the dude who's going, okay, I'm gonna scream. And also like I just really love the fact that there was like the classic song "Darling Clementine" throughout this episode, which I have stuck in my head every time I watch it, and I just think that I'm going to smash it because I enjoyed certain parts of it. The whole episode I really enjoyed. There's parts that I don't quite enjoy and don't quite get, but overall I would watch it. So yeah.
No, I hate that. It's always good to have a different opinion, because if we all have the same opinion, we may as well have just been talking to each other. So I like that a lot. I enjoy it, and it is very, you know, traditional formula Scooby, so it definitely has its merits. I wish that I was in this episode. I think that would have been really cool. But Millie doesn't. So I still have no clue how community news is going to work with this, although there is absolutely nothing that I can think of except for some kids museum has got a mystery machine, and apparently that's exciting. But it's not in the UK, so really it's probably not done particularly well. So who knows? Who knows? Hashtag Team UK. What else is going on?
Okay, so there's quite a lot going on that JayBee may slightly be overlooking, but I guess it's more channel news than
Well, that's the best
community news. It is indeed. So this will be going out on Monday the 6th of June, which is a date that we are launching an incredible interview.
Which... Oh, I can't ask. Is that... Oh, wait, is that...
You're going to have to edit this out if I get it wrong.
No. Okay, let's not talk about that today, but it's exciting. It's exciting. I'm sure it is.
So we've got some amazing interviews going out on Monday, Wednesday, Friday and Sunday this week.
Yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan. There's a lot going on. I think it's going to be exciting. We recorded one just before, well, not just before, but before recording this particular episode. And oh my gosh, I went into the recording session with 2 socks on, and they were off by the time we'd finished. That isn't to say I started stripping mid-interview. I mean, my socks were blown off. That's what I was meant to say. I wasn't doing it.
It was certainly some kind of childhood dreams come true.
Oh yeah, big time, big time, big time. So we hope that you guys stick around for that. Anything else apart from nothing? Maybe
I do know.
Rhianna.
I know one thing that I don't know if we've mentioned it before, but on GalaxyCon, Freddie Prinze Jr. is doing an autograph signing, and where you can like send in things. I think it's July 3rd. That's the only thing I know.
That's cool.
I know this is completely off topic, but so is Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, that's mad. That's mad.
That was very exciting.
He needs to be on Guess Who, wasn't it? Actually, I don't like Guess Who. But if they're ever doing more Scooby crossovers, just meet Andrew Garfield.
Hey, if they can do a crossover with Batman, they can do one with Spider-Man. I'd like that.
Well,
okay,
I hope so. I hope so. Yes and no. I can't get over Warner Brothers' incompetence at this point. But
oh god,
they are just incompetent. They're schmucks. That's what I say. Schmucks. Absolute schmoes. If you're listening to this, Warner Brothers, you're a schmo. But that wraps up our show for today. So, that is another review on the JayBee and Milly channel. Please stick around next time for a review of Scooby Doo Where Are You in Decoy for a Dog Napper, along with all those awesome interviews that we're going to be doing. We've been working round the clock to give you guys the best content possible, so please make sure to put a like on this video and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Also make sure to check the description for both our link tree and also the links to all of Rhianna's social links, which are going to be amazing and full of rootin' tootin' wholesome content. So please like, comment and subscribe. JayBee and Milly.